Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the August 30th product group conversation. I'm Scott Williamson, the Chief Product Officer. Happy to take any questions that you all have. Don't see any yet, so feel free to voice them over. Give you a couple minutes.
So I do have a question. I don't know if Peel is on the phone or someone in growth. Slide 15 talks about the post-purchase survey with bronze and starter going away. I'd be curious if they could walk through the slide and kind of explain how they collected the data and talked about the stages 1 through 10.
Slide 15. Oh, there we go.
And everyone in the deck is all swarmed to that slide, so everyone's following along.
I saw Mike K here. I'm not sure if he was responsible for it. Mike K, are you close enough to it to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, so I think Sam was driving this, but I am aware of it enough to be able to speak to it. And I think, it's mostly covered in the slide, but wanted to survey customers to understand which features in their tier they were unaware of, and of those features, which ones they would be excited to adopt. And so I believe the plan with this data is to look for opportunities in the product to highlight these features to people so that we can make them aware of them and drive further adoption and ultimately, trial to paid conversion by highlighting those features. I don't know if Sam's on the call or if someone who was directly involved wants to add anything, but that's my high level understanding of the data there.
Yeah, I guess it's more like I could read the content, and you're right, it is mostly self-explanatory, and I can follow up with Sam afterwards. The colored boxes and then what they relate to don't seem like they map properly to the right stages. So I was trying to understand if there's a reason why that was. That's where it doesn't
Got
connect
it.
to what you described.
Got
But
it. Yeah,
I can
I
follow up
think
with
the
him.
intent was to have the color coding. So like features 1 through 4 as part of plan, and features 5 and 8 as part of verify. And so if those aren't mapping correctly, we should clarify that and fix it.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason why I'm asking. I think one of the things with the approvals is not just the stuff that's in create or the stuff that's in verify. That also includes secure and now protect as well, and making sure that we're capturing where those features actually reside in the right boxes. And that those are the only ones that kind of jumped out as maybe not correct. But that's why I asked the question.
Got it.
Hopefully that gives you better context as to why I was asking.
Thanks for that, David. Yeah, if you could send your tweaks to Sam, that'd be awesome. All right, other questions? Thanks for asking one, David.
I've sat quietly on a group conversation with no questions, so I know what that feels like.
Yeah. Give it another minute.
Notice that we have 42 people in this call. It used to be around 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
What changed? One thing I know is that we switched the time slot for a while. Anything else that changed that caused attendance to drop?
Not that I know of. It seems like I usually have a similar time slot, and I've noticed attendance dropping over the quarters. It's typically sort of sub 50 for these for me.
One comment I can make about myself is I think there's a lot less presentation and a lot more conversation by design, right? And so it requires a lot more upfront homework. So where previously I would attend and consume some information, find out about a particular group, now I had to have kind of prepared and done all my homework to come with a question. So it's more bi-directional now. So maybe
The thing,
others feel like that, like they can't attend if they haven't done the homework.
so the other thing I've noticed, and it's prohibited my attendance of group conversations, is we have things like the GitLab.com daily stand-up is at the same time. And there's a couple of meetings like that that are recurring that have become critical. And I think those overlap with this time slot, and that's prohibiting people from coming.
Yeah, I think both are valid. Like we used to be really like, it's not acceptable to plan meetings at 8 o'clock. And over time, we plan more and more meetings. I bet just a lot of people just have a meeting at this time by now.
Yeah.
It's a great time slot. That's why we had the group conversation there. I think maybe Michael, the other comment, I think we got to normalize that you can ask a question, even if it's in the deck, that you can come unprepared and ask the question that's on your mind, even it might be in the deck or something like that. Maybe we want to normalize that. So I've never seen hey, I give it 1 more minute or 30 seconds until countdown. That never seems to work. But maybe a good way to solicit questions is, hey, even if you haven't read the deck or haven't seen the video, you're welcome to ask a question, even if it's covered there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add that as a hint for the presenters.
This might help a lot, because other thing that I noticed as a product manager, I have less interest in the product conversation because the topics are really geared at higher levels and rarely come up topics that would be related to me personally. And previously, I often received questions from people like Brad around the current ongoing feature development, how we see a given category, how we see a direction, etc. And these topics are not mentioned in the presentation because these are not currently relevant for the product leadership as an activity. They don't even come up in the discussions. So coming unprepared might help a lot with the discussion, actually.
Yeah, I think we got to normalize, make it coming unprepared. And I think we got to normalize asking stuff that isn't like in the deck, just what you're curious about. But I think the unprepared, because if you join this call and then you try to go to the slide deck, which is super dense, and then watch the video, that's not going to work. So those materials are out there for the people who want it, but they're not required. Christina, can you make sure that we give this as a hint to solicit questions and say, hey, totally cool if you haven't read the deck, haven't watched the video, happy to talk about anything, including stuff that isn't in the deck.
Any questions like that?
I do. I'm unprepared. It might be in the deck.
There you go.
Usually at the first part of the year, sales kickoff product does this is what we're going to try to accomplish in the product in the year. And I remember there was an enterprise ready theme. I think that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of understand, where you feel you're on that journey, right? We're a little over halfway, at least in the sales fiscal year. How you feel like product's making on that journey, and what's kind of the big gaps that you think you're going to hit by the end of the fiscal.
Yeah, the 3 big themes this year were SaaS first, adoption through usability, sorry, and application security testing leadership. And we're heavily invested in all 3, particularly the first and the last one. We have a lot of people working on SaaS performance, SaaS reliability, burning down security issues to make our SaaS posture safer, all that. So we're heavily invested there right now. There's a lot of work to do, but we've got a lot of teams focused on it. So I think we're making quick progress on that. For example, there's a sharding team that's given us more headroom in the database. Teams like Search and Runner and Verify have made material improvements in response times and their availability of their services with dedicated focus. So we're seeing pay off on some of those investments, but that's a long range thing. And there's a lot of different groups have to come together to make that a full success, but I'm very happy with the progress and the focus on SaaS first. On application security testing leadership, we've had pretty stable investment there. We're adding a handful more people to it. We've had good evidence that we are in fact gaining leadership there. Our position in the Magic Quadrant improved. Customers continue to buy on account of it. So I think we're making great progress on that one as well. The one in the middle, adoption through usability, we've focused on it a lot. For example, we improved the nav. We've fixed hundreds of user experience bugs, that kind of thing. The results haven't shown themselves yet, at least in terms of our SUS scores. That's our system usability score. That's something that UX measures. It's a measure of user satisfaction with the system. That has dropped. The last measurement was flat, but it's lower than we want it. So we haven't seen those efforts result in that score improving, but we have invested a lot in it, and I'm optimistic that with dedicated focus over time, we'll move the needle on that. So heavy investment in all three. I think the first and the third, we're seeing clear returns from. The one in the middle, we haven't seen objective evidence yet, but I do believe it's going to turn around.
I have one of those unscripted questions.
All right.
If you allow me. So I lost a deal last week in Belgium to GitHub. And the reason is that they were young in the development life cycle or in DevOps. So they were quite immature. And GitHub were able to add advanced security at the repo level as they grew. And we need everyone on the same tier. So I was wondering if I'm not sure who to address this to, but are we aware of the fact that they can help someone to incrementally grow and have everyone on the same platform? And do we have a strategy for potentially something I think that they could eat our lunch on this in the next few years?
I wasn't aware they do mixed tier, so that's interesting to me.
So it's not mixed tier, so it's all one platform. But they add on users at the repo level, which means that they can essentially give teams access to ultimate-esque features without licensing everyone in the organization. And their TCO was way better than ours. And when I look at the packaging and the pricing, it would be really nice if we were able to compete at some point. But I know obviously that the structure of how our product works may have to be adjusted for that, and there would need to be appetite for it. So just curious of your thoughts on that.
It's a hot topic. Keith from pricing is looking at some different options there. It's a tricky one because there are a lot of advantages to having everyone on the same tier. And we feel strongly about those. It's way simpler for sales. It's way simpler for customers. It prevents companies from treating different people in the company different ways. Like, oh, okay, maybe they have a little bit more budget or they're a little more advanced, so they get all the fun tools. Everyone else gets the down version so that we can keep costs low. By having everyone on the same tier, we avoid that kind of thing, and everyone can use the platform in the same way. So those are, it's hard to walk away from those. But I do know that there's pressure. We have a customer advisory board. We hear that from some of our larger customers that there's some pent-up demand for higher tiers for only a portion of their people. So we fully understand there's pros and cons on it. We have not chosen to move the pendulum to this point, but I'm well aware of the sales and customer pressure.
Yeah, and Hans, can you maybe explain a bit what happened there? Because I'm not fully aware of how GitHub prices. It looks from their website that they need everyone to be on there, but they have more security features in their free tier, which is something I encourage us to do. Josh has some. Josh, you want to talk to it?
Sure. Yeah, I linked the page with their billing policy for GitHub Advanced Security. It's an add-on, and then it also details how it's priced. So hopefully this aligns with what you're seeing in the field. But that's
Yeah,